guys, welcome to Learn Tech from Zero. Today we'll be continuing with Zero to CCNA Lab. So we have already added the device, and we have renamed some of the devices, and we have added a serial connection between two sites to form a WAN, wide area network. So this is one local area network, and then this is another local area network. And then when you connect to separate local area networks, which represents one business or one entity, it forms a WAN, wide area network. So today we will be covering the next step, so which is 4. And then so we have already covered 1, 2, 3, step 1, 2, 3. So we'll be covering 4. If we have enough time, then we will cover 5, 6, whichever. So let's just start with step 4. So on step 4, what we are doing is we are connecting R1 to the distribution switch. So in this situation, R1 is the router. Right now it does inter VLAN routing. So when we create separate when we segment the network, when we basically separate our traffic, which we will cover later on, so don't worry about this now. So right now all the communication, routing, access control, everything is happening on R1. So right now it's a collapsed core. So right basically, in simple terms, right now R1 is doing all this fancy work, all this routing, decision making and everything. But to basically, what we can do is we can add a layer 3 switch which can does routing functionality and switching functionality, everything on a single device, and which also makes the network faster. This is the work that we will cover in the future. So right now we are doing all this work on the R1, and then later on we will make this switch a layer 3 switch. Right now it's just layer 2 switch for the time being, but later on, when the separate networks like virtual local area network, VLANs, when VLANs communicate with each other, it will just go through switch 1. But right now everything will just go through R1. So the way it's designed, so that we can cover all the CCNA exam objectives in particular ways. So, and later on, to basically match the exam objectives, to match the higher level problems, we will basically move from R1 to switch 1. Don't worry about this too much for now. Just make sure that if you are new to this, you start from step 1, and then we will go from basic to high level. So let's just follow the guideline. So right now we are connecting R1 to the distribution switch SW1. What we will be doing is we will choose a copper straight through cable, just a normal so if you just search it online, basically just a normal Ethernet cable. All right, so we don't call them Ethernet cable. Ethernet is a protocol, but in many places they call it Ethernet cables. They're normally called straight through cables or crossover cables, depending on right now you don't have to worry too much about straight through or crossover cable, because modern switches or devices, they have MDIX. I completely forgot the term. So it recognizes what sort of cable it has and works accordingly. So you don't worry about this too much for now. So basically we are just adding local LAN cables. These are LAN cables, normal. They have RJ45 connector, and then they could be either straight through or crossover cable. That's it. So we'll be using those sort of cables to connect. So we are doing this virtually, so you will not see the real cables, you will just see a line. But in simple terms, when we connect devices within a local area network, we use this straight through or crossover cable. So basically, crossover cables are for connecting same devices, and then straight through cables are for connecting different devices. Let's say PC to switch, switch to PC, straight through. Same devices like PC to PC, switch to switch, we use crossover. But you don't have to worry. Sorry, you don't have to worry about this too much for now in this modern world, because right now there is this modern feature that I've mentioned earlier, which is auto MDIX. So this fixes this issue, so any cable works between any of the devices. So this technology is implemented in all devices, so you don't have to worry about straight through or crossover cable. Okay, so ports to use R1, so we will be using R1's a gigabit Ethernet ports. The when we say gigabit Ethernet, it means, let's just let me just switch ports. So so some of the ports will be gigabit Ethernet, so they can transmit faster data. Some of them will have fast Ethernet. They will transmit slower data. So basically it just tells the speed. So gigabit Ethernet, they can do up to 1 GB to 10 GB. Fast Ethernet, they do 100 megabits to 1 GB. It depends on the version, etc. So don't worry about this too much for now. So R1 we will use gigabit Ethernet port 00, and then switch 1 we will connect gigabit Ethernet 01, and we will just use one of those cables. We will just use one of those cables to connect devices between R1 and switch 1, and then we will just use the cable. That's it. All right, let's just do it then. So we will be connecting the router with the switch. So we will connect with the internet service provider later on, but R1 is directly connected to the internet service provider, which is basically connected to the internet world. So anything that, if you need to communicate outside the local area network, it has to go from R1. And then switch one we will just rename it as switch 1. So switch 1 right now is still a layer 2 switch, because this is not doing any inter-VLAN routing, but later on we will make it a layer 3 switch. But right now it's still a layer 2 switch. So we will just connect them devices, and then we will connect all these devices so that they can start communicating with each other. Alright, so what we will do is, as per the instruction, it says that we need to use port gigabit Ethernet 00 on R1 and gigabit Ethernet 01 for switch 1. So this is how you do it. So I'm just gonna, this is the connection. So when you click on this one right here, you can choose different sort of cables. The first one is hold on a second, this is the console cable, and then this is a copper straight through cable, and then crossover cable, etc. So based on the thing is, straight through is for connecting different devices. So based on the information, we will be just using straight through cable. But in real world, both straight through or twist or crossover cable, they both work. So we'll be using a straight through cable. So this is a straight through cable. And then what it says that we need to connect, it says that we need to bear with me, choose gigabit Ethernet 00 on R1, and switch 1 we need to use 0/1. So on R1 00, so you can see we are choosing the gigabit Ethernet. So what we are actually doing is we are basically putting one of these cable inside one of the port which says 00. The number of the port number is 0. So we're just choosing that, and then we are inserting in 00, and then we will be connecting to switch 1. When you click on this one, it will say which port that you want to connect. So we are inserting to the one which is gigabit Ethernet 0/1. So right now they are directly connected with an with a copper cable. So that's it. So we have done this process, and you can see link lights should turn amber, then green, etc. You don't have to worry about this too much for now. I'm not talking about link lights, how to turn it on, etc. We can cover that later on. What we can do is, so what we have done is, Right now, let's say switch 0 will be in one area, switch 2 will be in another area within this local area network. So switch 0 and switch 2, um, what they are basically access switches. So where um, devices, let's say computers, um, and then let's say wireless router, they will be connected to this switch. So this one provides access to the internet, and then this switch right now will do trunking, so the different VLANs can talk to each other, and it will pass all the traffic to the router, and then later on router will do all the decision making, but we will switch from the router to a switch 1 to make it a layer 3 switch. If it's confusing to you, don't worry too much. I'm just telling you about what we will be covering in the future. um, and these are the extras that you can do just to make sure that if there is any issue you don't understand, or if something is not working in the future, then you can use this to make sure that the devices are on. If you care about link lights, if why is the light not turning um, from amber to green, etc., then you can use these steps to figure out. But normally you don't have to worry about this too much, because this is automatically configured. When we start working on all of them, they will start talking to each other. So what we can do is we can just finish for now. Let's not make it any more complicated. So what we can do is we will create a separate video for each step, covering every little details, so that way you can learn quickly and it will be very easy for you. So thanks for your time today, and I will see you next time with the next video, where we will be connecting switch 1 and switch 2, um, so, to the switch 1 and switch 2 to the main switch. So thanks for your time, and I will see you next time.